It's not your genetics, bro. It's you. You know, I wish that when my parents met, they had this really expensive multi-million-dollar gene mixing machine so they could pick each other's best genes and turn me into an absolute freaking unit. Unfortunately, however, they both look like even staring at a dumbbell would make them faint, and all they had was a spark, a really uncomfy bed, and some really angry neighbors that night. That's it. And yet, here I am. Hi guys, my name is Tony and this is Sinscraft. On this channel, we talk about men's personal development as it pertains to fitness, mindset, lifestyle, and relationships. And today I want to talk about why you can't build any muscle. Listen, bro, we've got what we've got when it comes to genetics. And what we don't got, we can't do anything about it. So let's just make the most with what we've got. Because blaming things outside of your control while there's still things you can control is not taking responsibility. And not taking responsibility is the quality of a wimp. So let's talk about the things you can control. And if you're still not seeing results, I'm giving you permission to sit down with your mom and dad for a chat. Spoiler alert. It's not gonna get you anywhere. When you go to the gym for a while, one thing you can notice is that there's this group of people that keeps going over and over and over again, like this core crew of the gym. Some of these people really see amazing results, and I see those results on them. However, there's also people that keep coming back a year later and they haven't changed at all. Like they literally look exactly the same as how they looked a year before. And of course, if they were already jacked, I wouldn't really say anything because at that point, maybe they're just reaching their genetic potential and there's nowhere else to go. But these people just can't put any muscle. And you know why that happens? That happens to people who don't have the fundamentals down. They start looking into the new brand of creatine and they blame their genetics and they think that the protein powder that they used before is not good enough. It's not giving them the quality protein that they need. So they should switch to a different protein powder, and their grandma didn't itch their butt and this and this and that. They blame everything in the world except themselves for not having the fundamentals of muscle building down. And the first fundamental reason why you can't build muscle is that you're simply not eating enough. In my experience as a personal trainer, I've heard this over and over again. Tony, but I'm eating so much food. I can't move. I'm about to throw up. You really underestimate how much food you should be consuming for muscle building. To give you an example, I'm 6 feet, 200 pounds, and every single day for me to build muscle, I have to eat 3,600 calories every day, at the minimum. Of course, it depends on your metabolism and everybody has different caloric requirements, but for the most part, the majority of guys severely undereat. And the reason for this undereating is because they're not tracking calories. They can eat a massive meal, let's say for lunch, that's like 1,500 calories, and say they're super full and they can't throw up, but then they would skip their breakfast and they would skip their dinner, and overall, they just wouldn't even get close to the caloric intake that they should be getting to. And I'm not even asking you to track your macros, right? Your carbs, protein, fats. All that really matters here is going to be the calories. If you want to track macros, that's great, but that really comes next if you want to really optimize the process of muscle building. But that's not part of the fundamentals. If you don't track calories or if you don't have a meal plan, you can pretty much forget about building any muscle. Unless, of course, you just stuff yourself all day long with random crap and then you feel horrible and you actually end up gaining more fat than muscle. Yeah, sure, that could be another approach you could take. But if you want to do it the right way, you have to really understand what you're putting in your body and tracking diligently to make sure you're getting to those caloric amounts that you're supposed to be getting. What really works for me is creating a meal plan that I follow every single day of the week. And that way I don't have to track with a phone app or anything else that I use every single time I eat a meal. All I have to do is make substitutions if I have to or if I want to. The second fundamental reason why you're not building muscle is that you're not sleeping enough and you're not sleeping right. Having an effective sleep schedule is another extremely important factor in how much muscle you can build. And it's not just about getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep every single night. It's also going to bed and waking up exactly at the same time, or roughly about at the same time. You also want to maximize how effective your sleep is. You have to understand that in your sleep cycle, there's different types of sleep. There's deep sleep, light sleep, and REM sleep. And the amount of deep sleep you get is going to be the most crucial thing for your muscle building process. To do that, you really have to wind down properly. You have to make sure you put all the screens away at least an hour before you go to bed. Another way to maximize your sleep is also to manage your stress. If you don't manage your stress throughout the day properly, your cortisol levels are going to be super high, and that completely tanks how much muscle you're able to build. So if you have a stressful job or certain unresolved issues in your life, I highly recommend you get a therapist. You'd be surprised how much a therapist can actually help you get big. The third fundamental reason is that you're not training right and you're not training hard enough. Most guys at the gym spend like 2-3 hours every single workout doing 14 exercises per muscle group and just pissing me the heck off. All you need is 1 to 2 sets, literally, per exercise. But you have to go hard. You have to go to failure. Most guys really don't know what failure feels like. I see people just doing a set of 10 to 12 reps or a set of 5 to 6 reps, and then they stop and they're like, "Ooh, I'm done with my exercise. It's time to go home and celebrate and eat some Cheetos and play some League of Legends for 2 hours. Yay!" No, that's not gonna cut it if you want to build muscle. You really have to push hard. For me, a good indicator that I'm going to failure is when my muscles start shaking, when my form starts breaking down, when I'm panting, I'm breathing really, really hard. Another thing to keep in mind is your exercise selection. Most guys are picking exercises that are not very stable. Things like deadlifts, like squats, or even bench press. These non-stable exercises are going to limit how much stress you're able to put on your targeted muscle without putting other muscles into play. I actually created a free resource that you can grab by clicking the link in the description of this video, where I list all of my favorite exercises for each muscle groups with YouTube links to each of those explaining the form for how to do them. And those exercises are my personal selections to build muscle the fastest way possible. Another mistake that people do is that they don't rest enough between the sets. I understand that you probably want to get out of the gym as soon as possible, but you really have to prioritize your rest between the sets. I'm only asking you to do 1 to 2 sets, but you have to make sure you're resting at least 3 minutes and 4 minutes on bigger lifts. So things that are involving your legs, things that are involving your chest. Those bench press movements, they need at least 4 minutes of rest in between each set. The next thing is, of course, the weight itself. So many guys at the gym are ego lifting. Nobody cares about how much weight you are pushing on bench press. Not a single soul is looking in your direction when you're grabbing this weight that you cannot do. The only person affected is you, and unfortunately, you're not getting affected in a good way. The only thing that happens from ego lifting, unfortunately, is injuries. And injuries will get you out of the gym for months, and you can forget about any gains at all. So drop the freaking hundreds, bro. Pick up the 60s and start bench pressing right with correct form. Also, progressive overload. If you're not properly progressively overloading, you can forget about gains. Your muscle needs to see an increased number of weight and reps at the gym as you continue doing your workouts. And your workouts that you're doing need to be consistent over time so you can utilize the principle of exercise specificity and get better at a particular exercise the more you're doing it week to week. And last but not least in this fundamental section is sequencing. If you are trying to grow your biceps, you need to be hitting your biceps first on the days when biceps are part of your workout split. Otherwise, once you already build up all this fatigue in your body, your biceps are not going to be properly stimulated. They're pretty much dead. So this is the mistake that I constantly see. Guys are training back and bis that day, and their goal is to grow their biceps, but they do 3 sets of 10 reps of cable hammer curls at the end of their workout and expect to see results. If you want to see results, you have to prioritize which muscles you want to target first. And the last fundamental mistake is that guys don't rest enough. And when I say rest enough, I don't mean rest in between the sets, but I actually mean rest in between the workouts. This also ties back to your sleep, of course, but you need to make sure that you allocate rest days into your workout program. Rest days is when you're actually growing. And when you're having a rest day, I don't mean sitting there and playing World of Warcraft for 12 hours like I used to back in the day, but actually doing something good with your life, doing something for your mindset, something for your education, something to continue working and fulfilling your purpose and mission as a man. And all these things are going to in turn promote your testosterone levels, you're going to recover properly, and you're going to make more gains at the gym. These are going to be your fundamentals. So before you get those fundamentals down, please don't start looking at what brands of supplements you should be taking and starting to take your genetics test to see why your biceps cannot grow or whatever the heck else that you could be doing. Because I can guarantee you that it's exactly your fundamentals that are lacking and are preventing your muscle growth on your fitness journey. Once you get those fundamentals down, you're going to be in a spot where you're already pretty happy with your physique. Trust me. But if exercise is truly your passion, at that point you can start looking into how to take things to even the next level, such as, for example, in your exercise, practicing some interesting techniques like myoreps or supersets or drop sets, or maybe optimizing your sleep schedule further by getting some kind of tracking device for sleep that actually tells you how much deep sleep you're getting and how much wind down time you need in order for you to get that amount of deep sleep. Or maybe also adjusting the levels of your macros that you're eating to see how your body responds. For example, my body responds really well to carbs if I'm trying to build muscle, while some other people respond better to protein. And you can actually play with those macronutrient combinations in your daily caloric intake to see which you're going to be responding the best to. But none of that really matters as long as you don't have the fundamentals down. And really ask yourself the question, how much muscle do you need to truly be happy? When it comes to bodybuilding or muscle gain in general, the majority of you guys are never going to step on stage. I'm never going to step on stage. That's just not something that I want to do with my life. I use fitness for the sake of personal development, not just my career. My goal with fitness is to sustain this lifestyle for as long as I possibly can, which is why for me, longevity is the number one priority. And I think for you, it should be too if personal development is something that you want to keep up with. For that reason, I'm selecting stable exercises, a lot of machines. I'm also making sure I'm protecting myself, I'm recovering enough so my body can continue performing at its best for many years to come. So that is pretty much it for this video, guys. I really hope you learned something. If you're interested in some shortened versions of everything we talk about in these videos, please subscribe to my newsletter by clicking the link in the description of this video. That is it for this video, guys. Thank you very much, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers.